Hi, I'm Sam, and welcome to my backyard. To my right, I have Dr. Marikay Campbell. How are you today?
I'm good, and this is a really nice yard,
Well,
and I
thank
like
you.
it a lot.
Well, thank you. So we're just going to dive right in. Dr. Marikay, what brought you to Port Royal?
Um, I was looking for a new place to work and a new place to live, and we found an ad on the internet
Oh, nice.
for a veterinary practice for sale. And I had heard of Beaufort, but never been here. We started researching it, and the more we learned, the more excited we became. And finally decided, well, if we're gonna do this, we better go down and visit. And truthfully, driving in over the causeways, it felt like coming home.
Wow, that's amazing. And you surely have made it this year home.
It's been wonderful.
What was your first experience that inspired you to become a veterinarian?
As a teenager, I didn't think I would be able to do anything medical. I'd had a bad experience with blood, and it really freaked me out. And so it was never even on my radar. I veered toward, even though I was in biology, veered toward botany, landscaping, ecology, those sorts of things. And then I went with a friend to visit her parents, and her stepfather was a veterinarian. And we happened to go into work with him one day, and I realized in the midst of watching him that I was so entertained and fascinated with what was going on. I didn't care about that there was blood and stuff like that. And
Well,
so
it's very
that,
obvious you have a way with animals.
and so from there, I just kept pursuing it from there.
Okay. And you can definitely see that in your photography. You have a lot of plants and animals and stuff like that. So Dawn and Linda asked, do you believe your education gave you all you need to know?
Not even close.
Mm-hmm.
I had lots of scientific background. One of the most important things I learned was how to look things up and how to learn new things, but I learn every day. I learned from other doctors, I learned from clients, I learned from the animals.
And most recently, you just took and completed a course for...
Oh, I recently finished my master's degree in veterinary forensic science.
And how do you plan on applying that to this area?
Forensic science is using science in a way to assist the legal system in the most general sense. So veterinary forensic science is when the two worlds of animals and the legal system come together, whether it is a dog that bites, a dog that got bitten, a dog that's been neglected, a cat that ran away from home, all sorts of things that have to deal with the legal system.
Okay. So we know that it can be stressful being a veterinarian. We know that it can kind of keep you up at night. So what keeps you up at night?
Wondering if I did everything I could possibly do for that patient, especially if they're not improving as quickly as I would like. There's always the second guessing of, did I miss anything? What else could I do? Who else could maybe help me with this? To try to get the best outcome possible.
How far have you gone to save a pet or an animal?
Well, back in my younger days when I was a little more physically fit, I did help out on the rescue of a doe and a fawn
Wow.
that were in a concrete-sided drainage creek in Portage, Michigan that was running out of a Superfund site. And it was in the fall, so a group of us, with the assistance of that county's animal control and some other wildlife people, ended up going in this creek, wading into it up to our chests. We got the fawn out the first day, and then a couple of days later we got someone who could come and use a tranquilizer gun, and had to follow the doe up into a tunnel over all the trash that had washed up in there, tranquilizer, and then carry her out. And I'm happy to say that they were both transported to a farm where they both recovered and were released themselves, actually, by jumping the fence. Another thing that I did that was probably not too smart in my younger days was I got a call from a group of federally permitted wildlife people who had a tiger that was sick.
Oh my.
And coming in and out of consciousness.
And this is a full-grown big tiger.
Uh-huh.
Not stuffed.
No.
Oh my.
And they brought it to me in the back of a pickup truck. And
as many people do.
Oh, yeah. And I climbed up in the back of the pickup truck and stuck my arm down its throat to make sure its airway was clear.
Oh my.
Then once we established that and we were masking oxygen, I got IV fluids on board, and she came around, and the next day she was pretty much recovered. But thinking back about that is probably not the smartest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
But it seemed like the right thing to do at the time.
So would you say there's a lot of times that you put the animals' safety and well-being ahead of yours?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my techs get on me about that all the time.
Yes, I've seen the scars and the stitches on
Oh,
Facebook.
yeah.
What is one thing you wish the general public understood about the veterinary profession?
That we're human. We're not perfect. We try to do every day the best we can for every patient. And it doesn't always go well. It doesn't always go the way we would like to. But the biggest thing is that we're human, and we're always trying to do the best we can.
I agree with that. Joe asks, oh my, he knows Joe. Joe asks, what's love got to do with it? Do you really love this job?
Yes. Yep. Until I started veterinary medicine, I never really pictured anything that I could do my whole life. But once I started with this, I can't really see myself doing anything else.
And I think it speaks volumes the way that you are with animals. I remember bringing my Gigi to you, and she wasn't fond of vets, and you assessed her on my lap. So I think anybody that knows you knows that you truly love this job. What was your proudest professional moment or accomplishment? Or one of them?
That's a hard one.
What about a most recent one?
Well, I'm proud every time somebody tells me that I made a difference. Especially if it's in a situation, like an emergency situation where we're able to stabilize a pet to get it to a referral center when it's in serious need. And when one of them says, hey, you did a good job getting it ready to transport, and so that somebody that's more specialized than I am can take it from there. You know, just carving out the chance for that animal to make it.
Taylor asks, how far have you gone to, well, Taylor asked the same thing as the aforementioned. So we're going to skip that one. But thank you, Taylor. What's your favorite part of being a veterinarian?
Every time that I have a pet come in and it's not feeling well, or it's limping, or sick, broken, whatever, and then get to see them walk back out the door with their owner and feeling better. That's why I do it. That's the thing.
I feel like it has to be hard on you to see the owners going through what they do with a sick pet, and you've been there before.
Yep.
So you've been on both sides of that spectrum.
Yes, very much.
How do you feel, well, how do you deal with people who are emotional? Like euthanasia, and how does that affect you and your staff?
We all absorb some of that. We all feel it with them. Sometimes it's a pet that we've known for a long time, and sometimes it's a pet that we've all just met. But we all feel that loss. We all feel the owner's pain. Some days it's harder than others to be able to go from that to go to the next client and hopefully not let them know that, you know, we've just all suffered a loss, but be able to be excited for their new puppy. But it can be stressful, it can be hard. And that kind of a situation is also when not everybody's at their best. And we always try to remember how much stress that owner is in and how upset they are, and remembering that any anger or any resent is generally grounded in that pain and that grieving.
I mean, it's part of the grieving process.
Right.
And now there's something special that you guys did with the new building, as far as taking care of your clients' emotional needs.
We are creating a special room. It's not finished yet, but it's in process. It's going to be called Mullet's Room for a very, very special patient. And it's going to be a room for serious conversations, for waiting for your pet if something serious is going on, or if it's time to say that final goodbye. It's going to be designed to be more homelike, more comfortable, and sheltering, just kind of out of the rush of everything else going on.
Because I think for the staff as well as the clients, it's hard whenever you say goodbye and then you have to walk into a lobby full of people with their happy, healthy puppies and cats.
Yep.
So, very thoughtful. Name an animal that you haven't practiced on that you would like to.
I have always thought the ocean mammals are really fascinating, and I've never had that opportunity to do dolphins or orcas or anything like that.
What's the smallest animal you've ever gotten to work with?
I have, let's see, with the exotics, they can get pretty small. So some of the snakes, baby turtles, newly hatched chameleons
Oh, yes.
that were not quite as big as my thumb.
Wow.
They were pretty amazing.
What about the biggest thing?
The biggest thing. A rhinoceros.
Well,
When
now
I-
there's a story there, so
Yes.
we can't just stop at rhinoceros.
In vet school, there is a rotation that you can do specializing in zoo and wildlife. And the local zoo had a rhinoceros who had a facial infection. So fortunately, she was a very nice rhinoceros, although she was on one side of the fence and we were on the other. She was used to interacting with the keepers, so she would come up to the fence and get fruit, and we were able to examine her and get samples from her infection,
Okay.
which was pretty darn amazing.
That is amazing. From chameleons to rhinoceri.
Yeah.
Miss Robin asked, how do you feel about working with the techs and listening to their opinions?
I have learned so much over the years from different technicians. They have a different perspective on a lot of things, where the doctor learns what you should do. They don't always learn how to do it in the practical sense, or how to do it and how to do it with the least muss and fuss and stress to everybody. And those techs have worked for lots of different doctors. They come from all sorts of different trainings, so they've all seen different things and different ways to do things. So I learn a lot from them.
And I think that speaks to your leadership, that you're willing to learn. What is your favorite non-domestic animal?
Non-domestic. That's a hard one. I have a lot of favorites.
Rattle some off.
In general, I'd say most of the exotic pets really are not domestic and shouldn't, in general, be kept as pets. I do actually enjoy working with them, but a lot of my focus is because somebody needs to, because they're already out there. I guess one of my favorite wildlife species that I see would be owls. I love different types of owls.
They're so
Screech
funny
owls.
looking with their long legs. You think they're this long.
You're right, and they're very strange, and babies especially will do everything in the world to try to make you think they're big and bad, and they're a little puffball.
Do we have a lot of those down here?
Yeah, there are a number of owl species here. They just hide very well.
Yes, I think they do, because I don't think I've ever seen one. Now, Miss Amanda, she asked a question that I have no idea what she's talking about, so hopefully you do. Are you willing to give 100 answers to the owner's 100 questions and take the time to break it down so they fully comprehend the importance of what may be presented? So let's start off with, what is the owner's 100 questions?
All sorts of things. And a lot of times people will come in they'll bring their pet in for one thing, and then they think of something else, so it's, oh, by the way.
Hmm.
So, am I willing? Yes. I don't always have time on the spot
Mm-hmm.
to do all that and answer all those questions, but I do the best that I can and try to, if I can't finish it right then, do the second 50 either at another appointment or by email or however we need to do it. But it's a team effort. So if they don't understand why we need to do what we're doing, then what's the incentive to do it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a process, and I just try to listen and try to figure out, what can I do to help that person understand, or what can they help me understand about that pet that I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
that will help us both, do better for them.
Do you have to tailor your approach differently from
Mhm.
patient to client?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Um, you may have somebody who's had tons of cats in their life, but this is their first dog,
Mm-hmm.
or vice versa. And they may be super knowledgeable about one, but really not know where to start with the other. And people tend to be embarrassed about asking questions, but that's probably the most important thing they can do to help take care of their pet is ask that question, um, because sometimes we get on a roll and go through a huge amount of information and need some feedback to let us know if you're not picking up what we're laying down, as one of my technicians used to say.
I love it. Have you ever taken care of a fellow veterinarian's animal?
Yes.
And how was that?
It's always a little more stressful.
Yeah.
Um, no matter what direction it goes, because you want to make sure you do the best for every pet, but you also kind of feel a little bit like, I better not miss anything, because then they're going to think I'm dumb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Answer this. If you catch me snacking, I'm most likely snacking on what?
My McDonald's breakfast sandwich from this morning that I never finished.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's about that time. They're usually saying, who owns this McDonald's in here?
Oh no. Yes, especially on surgery days,
Mm-hmm.
when you can grab a snack, you got to.
Yep.
You get pretty busy. So, whoever wrote this question is going to aid you a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
They've outed you. You graduated in 1991. What would you tell other aspiring vets?
Stay open-minded. Learn from everybody and every place that you can, including your clients and your patients. And remember that as long as you have more successes than not, you have to hang on to those every day. Because we tend to take that one sick patient so much to heart and forget about the 10 others that responded just the way you expected, just the way they should. You gave them the medicine and the next day they were better. But we tend to always take that one that doesn't to heart. So remember that.
In your own words, describe your vision for Port Royal Veterinary Hospital.
Well, we've now expanded the facility. We're in phase 2 of that right now. We've recently opened the 4,000 square foot addition that's adjoining our other little tiny building, which we even more now feel how
How did you guys do it?
exactly.
For how many years were you in the old building?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Has it been that long?
Well, nine years and 11 months, because we moved into the new construction portion a month before our 10th anniversary of coming to Port Royal. So moving forward, of course, we want to, next step is getting the old facility renovated. We're finished with that, which will add a small amount of boarding and a few runs so that we can keep our bigger patients more comfortable. We'll move grooming back into the old building, and it will have better facilities, including a walk-in bathing facility for big dogs.
Oh, wow. So no hoisting
So
up.
no hoisting.
Ah.
They'll just be able to walk in, and it'll be more like a shower for them. So I'm very much looking forward to that. We also have recently added 2 additional doctors, which brings the total to 4.
Wow.
So we're continuing to grow. We're adding services as far as we now have dental x-ray capability, which we didn't have before. We now have a full digital regular x-ray system which means click the button and 10 seconds later it comes up on the computer.
Wow.
Rather than all of these stages of developing films, which helps a lot. And that system also has so much improved the quality of the x-rays that we can get, and
Especially in an emergency situation.
right, and the speed that we can get them. It is so much better. We have an enlarged surgical suite now. I'm continuing with, my doctors. We're exploring other things, everybody's interest. So, continuing to do the exotic pets, the birds, the reptiles, the bunnies, and so on. And advancing our internal medicine. We're adding ultrasound to our repertoire, so to speak. Eventually, we are looking to have our building open 24 hours a day. That's not tomorrow, but we do have our after hours on call. We always have a doctor available, but as we move forward, we are looking toward having somebody there all night, so that we can do more intensive cases, hospitalization-wise, having somebody there to monitor them.
And then during an emergency, even you have the on-call, but to get a true sense of it, you would have to go to Savannah or Charleston.
Yes.
And that's a far drive,
Right.
especially whenever you're freaking out that something's wrong with your baby.
Right. So our job, as I see it in that kind of a situation, is we are a general practice. So we take on, a lot of the things that come in after hours are things that can be handled and sent home. They just can't wait till morning. In the cases where they can't, it's our job to get them stable enough to try to get them to the further care that they needed, with a specialist. And I mean, as you know, with dachshunds, that often involves spinal injuries.
I've made several house calls. Well,
Yeah.
you have.
Yeah.
I've come to see you on the weekends.
Yep. So, you know, there are times when our job is mainly get that pet comfortable enough to ride in the car for an hour, hour and a half, if that's what's needed to see a specialist. So we try to fulfill those as best we can, but we want to keep growing and improving and doing whatever it is that the community needs.
So you're pretty much living your dream right now, because this has I know you guys personally have been waiting years,
Yes.
years to get the
Yes.
approvals, to start breaking some bricks
Right.
and start
Bricks
going.
and get it built. So yes, this is.
How does it feel?
Some days it's still a little bit unreal that it's really here, that we really have this. And then other days I can't really remember how we functioned in the other building, even though I know we did it for almost 10 years. And it's been a lot of reinventing how to do everything depending on how many people we had and what we needed to do.
So now we're at the end of our interview. Is there anything you would like to say to the community, to your staff?
I could not do what I do. We would not have been able to accomplish what we've accomplished without the community and the staff. The staff support us every day. They're my arms and legs to a big extent. And ever since we moved here, when we've needed something, needed to know about something, needed to replace something, or the person who could give us that information or give us that contact has walked into our life one way or the other. So the community has been a huge, huge part of making this possible. And we just want to continue that and continue to give back in every way that we can.
Well, as part of the community, we thank you. Thank you for interviewing with me.
Thanks.
Thank you.